Uh,
Yeah.
okay.
Hey,
Hey
everybody.
YouTube, I'm here, Eric.
Oh,
Of course, I'm of course a known uh, radio show host, and of course I have a couple of my friends here because we're starting the first episode of a new program that me and Marie kind of started. We kind of started a something called the Disability Mentors. And would you mind explaining to people what that is?
hi guys. Most of you know me as Marie Wo CP. I run IFCP. I run a few blogs for adults with CP, and we thought we start the disability mentor page for people with disabilities and kind of mentor them on life and what it's like aging with a disability and transferring from high school to college or from high school to the real world or dating or any variety of things you do. You have questions about with disability, so please join us every couple weeks for a live chat on YouTube, hang out, and I'll toss it over to my friend Tonique. I never know how to say your name.
Talia.
Tylea. So Tylea.
Hi,
Okay.
my name's Talia Flores. I'm a 22-year-old woman with spastic cerebral palsy. I am an self-published author, wrote my first book at 16 years old called James Ticking Time Bomb, and I've been writing ever since in the hopes that I could inspire others with cerebral palsy with my words of wisdom and to encourage them to express their feelings on cerebral palsy. I've been advocating for cerebral palsy awareness for 4 years now. You can follow me on Facebook at Stomping On Cerebral Palsy with Tylea, and I'm from Central Florida.
Oh, and you could follow me on Facebook at Marie Rose CP and on Blogspot at Healthy Life C. What the heck is my blog's name? Hold on. I'm on Blogspot. I got the wrong email signed in. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm not good at this. I'm the oldest one in the group right now. So, how are you? How old are you guys?
I'm 21.
I'm I'm 22.
And I'm 40 and old enough to be their mom.
Oh, you're 40?
I'm almost 40. I'll be 40.
You look good for your age.
Thank you. So, we've all come from different walks of life, but we have one thing in common, and it's having cerebral palsy. So, in cerebral palsy, there's different types of cerebral palsy in the world, and how the three of us met is this summer I did an bullying campaign with Marie Rose CP, and the three of us kind of met in the bullying campaign. So, and we wanted to collaborate and do stuff together. I found my blog page, so you can follow me on Healthy Lifestyle of Cerebral Palsy at WOCP on Blogspot. Okay, I'm throwing it over to you guys.
Yeah, yeah, because for you, any that may be listening and may not know what cerebral palsy is, it's kind of a condition that's present from birth. Um, it's kind of to where, of course, there may be very little blood or too much within the brain, and it causes various health conditions, including like various types of brain damages. Let's see, respiratory issues, um, trouble with communication for some people, and there's some other conditions associated. And so, part of the reason we came here today is because one of the big issues within the disabled community is bullying, and for anybody that would want to join, of course, if you'd want to share your experience, go on ahead, because if you have a story about bullying you need to tell us. We are grateful if you're able to come on and tell us your story.
And fully understand.
Yep, definitely. Okay, so I'll go on to you, Marie. What's your experience in terms of bullying?
Well, my experience in terms of bullying is kind of different because I graduated school almost 20 years ago, so bullying wasn't so much. What bullying was more of a part of life back then. It wasn't so much magnetized as it is now with Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. But my experience with bullying was mostly with teachers because I was the first child with a disability to go to my school in my town. So there were no curb cutoffs, there were no handicapped spots, there were no elevators. I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. These two people another and the ADA laws and stuff were out when they were growing up. I grew up in the 80s and 90s where even though the ADA laws were there, they weren't reinforced as much as they are today. So with the kids bullying me, I had a couple of kids that bullied me, but I have that personality where I just bullied them back by running them over with my walker. So I was a bully myself.
Oh gosh.
Oh,
I was a bully myself, so I can't like say I'm not innocent at all. But I was bullied most by the teachers and educators because they didn't. I was the first student they had with a physical disability in class in the lunchroom, so they didn't want me in their class. They didn't want me in the lunchroom. So my family and I had to fight for everything I had. There was one other person in my education system that had cerebral palsy, and you know what? It wasn't a student, it was a teacher. And the teacher was a high school teacher. And when I was in 4th grade, she came down to the lower school to teach me because I was going through a lot of different issues with understanding cerebral palsy and stuff. So I was able to see that we can have full lives, but I didn't take advantage of it because at 20 years old, at your guys' age, I denied myself that I was ever had a disability. I ran away from it and did stupid stuff. And it wasn't until 4 years ago that I realized that I needed to get in touch with that side of myself. And I went to a UCP, United Cerebral Palsy, and I was able to see that there were adults that lived full lives and stuff, so I kind of got into that stuff and into the blogs and Facebook, and now I respect myself more than when I did in my 20s. So that's my story.
Okay, so hey, we'll go on to you. What's your experience with bullying?
My experience with bullying is basically, it starts off from when I was 7, because when I started preschool from the age of 3, I was always involved with the United Cerebral Palsy Foundation. I went through school through them in New York, and then they transferred me out of that school once I turned 5 years old, and then I went to mainstream school, and then from there I moved to Miami, Florida. Well, around the summertime when they have that special education summer school where they send special needs students to summer school, well, on my way home from school that day, I was smacked by the bus driver across the face, just because I had cerebral palsy and I could speak, and the bus driver didn't like that, so she smacked me across the face. Fortunately, the bus driver was fired because around that time they had just placed cameras on the school bus, and they called her and she was fired. What? Then I'm gonna go on to 4th grade, where I got my pair of AFOs, and a boy that was mean and cruel didn't like my AFOs, so he told me that I look ugly with them, and from there I was insecure about my AFOs, but then eventually I had to get used to wearing them again to tell myself that I was beautiful again. Then we go on to high school. Now, I gotta warn you guys, this gets a little intense, okay? So, sorry, I'm catching my breath. I was in the middle of a devastating time in my life because my best friend that had cerebral palsy had passed away from cancer. He had brain cancer, and he had passed away. And we had been friends for several years. And I was dating this guy at the time, and he tried to comfort me, and he gave me a kiss on the cheek. Well, the teachers of the school didn't like that me and the guy were together, so the teacher started taunting me for months and months at a time, just bullying every chance she got. And one day, I had enough, and I stood up for myself at breakfast time in the cafeteria. I thought it was over. No, later on that day, right before I was heading off to lunch, her and another teacher's aide follows me into the bathroom and just bullies me and taunts me and tells me that I was never going to be anything in life, that I would never amount to anything. They bullied bullied me, they taunted me to the point where the school had to call the administration, call the police because I was like devastated, obviously. And long story short, the teacher wasn't arrested and she got 2 days off with pay.
Oh my god.
Oh my
And
god.
to
I'm
this
not fired for that.
and to this day, she still works at the school. Basically, the bullying. Yes, basically the discrimination that I was getting toward my school, they wanted to put me on a special diploma, even though my grades were good. They wanted it.
Oh geez. The thing is, to tell the truth, Taylor, I've almost ran into a similar case with my school actually.
They wanted
to do the same thing.
They wanted to take away my credits. They wanted to make my life a living hell because my mom and stepdad, they were fully involved with my public school, and they were bullying me and they were taunting me, and there was another girl I went to school with cerebral palsy, but her parents didn't care where she went, so they treated her better than they did me. So finally, my parents said enough, and they took me out of the school, and they started homeschooling me, and I graduated 4 years ago on a standard diploma. Now I'm going to college to be a writer for the entertainment world.
Oh, cool.
Nice.
So that's my intense story with bullying.
Wow. We had no idea.
It's weird that, we meet people on the internet and socialize with them with CP, and we don't know their whole stories, and until I came on these pages, I was amazed on some of the stuff people with CP do. My boyfriend, he has cerebral palsy. He's also deaf from the cerebral palsy because about 40% of people with cerebral palsy have hearing impairments. And he's very determined, very an independent person, and he was the first person on the amateur weightlifting circuit to be a bodybuilder with CP.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, and I was afraid to go out with anyone with cerebral palsy, and my friends just look at me now and was like, "Oh my God, Marie, who are you now?" Like friends I've had all my life.
It's funny that you say that, not getting off the topic of bullying, but when I was younger, I started getting into puberty. I've always said the same thing, like, if I ever have a boyfriend, he's not gonna have cerebral palsy, and now I've been in an online relationship for 4 years with cerebral palsy. My first boyfriend had autism, so it's weird what life can bring. The boyfriend that was involved in this bullying story had autism, so.
Whoa.
Wow.
Okay, so where? Oh. No, Heather once, Heather, have you read any of the comments on Facebook page?
Heather.
I hate this.
Yeah, Heather wants to join.
Yeah, what she's saying, I'm watching, but you guys aren't reading my. Oh.
Invite Heather in. Invite her in.
Oh, okay. We don't mind you joining, Heather. All you need to do is just log into your account
Oh no,
and
but
have your account logged in and click the link we gave you.
hold on. Heather answered questions. Okay. Heather answered questions. Okay, I am watching, but you guys aren't reading my. I can't see what she's writing. Hold on.
Maybe because there's like a chat. Maybe there's a chat, but even still, you cannot see what Heather is trying to say because.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the thing is, it doesn't give you a notification in the chat.
So, and yeah, especially when you're live. So I'm guessing from now on, we just have to tell people send your questions in advance.
Yes, but Heather did send her questions in, and they're in my inbox, and I forgot to write them up. So let me get Heather's questions. She answered the bullying questions and emailed me them like a while ago, so I should bring them up and hold on, Heather. I'll bring up your questions about answers. No, we're okay. Heather answered questions about bullying a while ago, and I'm gonna bring them up. Okay, so remember the questions I wrote for the bullying? I sent them to you, so she wrote up her experiences with bullying, and here's Heather's an adult with CP that lives in Canada. So, and she
Canada.
wrote her questions for me and sent them to me months ago. So when we did the bullying campaign, I wrote questions and she answered them. So it says, okay, what does bullying mean to you? It means these are Heather's answers. It means a person or group of persons, regardless of age, selecting a weak target that can I'm bad with reading, so you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna send you guys a copy.
Sure, you can send us a copy.
Yes, and maybe you could help me read them.
Sure. Sure. You can always also put in the chat, so at least then it's easier to access. Because this is still normal Google Hangout, but not live.
Here's Heather's answers. And maybe you could help me with them.
Let's see.
Let's see. Next time we may just have to have them come in live and answer your questions.
You know what? Maybe next time I should be more prepared, or we should be more prepared. And
we should. But at least we're all here discussing it today. Bring awareness about it.
I'm sorry, Heather. So if you want to help me read off for some of Heather's answers.
I mean, if you want, Heather, you can always, if you want, Um, if you want, you can always if you still have the link that we gave out, and you can log in, then you can join us. That way, then you can ask
Okay,
us
yes, but
direct.
Aaron, just for right now, let's answer her questions. Okay, so
Okay,
can you
so
help me?
okay, so one of the first ones she asked, like, of course, I know that you already answered that you already answered that three and
Okay, why don't you read number two?
okay. Okay, so what kind of effect has bullying had on you? Uh,
Um, I am very aware, and I witnessed someone being bullying, and I can pick out the bullies a mile away. That's very good, Heather. That's what people with disabilities need to understand too. They, depending on the disability have, they aren't fully aware on what people are bullying, what kind of people are bullying you. Um, you know, luckily with CP, we're smart enough and capable enough in our minds to say, okay, that person's bullying me. But if you have a person with mental um I'm gonna say mental, but like
A
Down
delay?
syndrome. Thank you. A delay, like Down syndrome. They might not realize who's being the bullying. They might not realize who's bullying you. They might think it's some kind of friendship that they're starting to get into.
Yeah, and that's sorry to cut you off, Marie. And that's the terrible thing with society nowadays when it comes to people that have a delay, a disability that caused them to have a delay mentally in the brain. Like I have an uncle that's he's autistic, but like Aaron, but he's not really aware of a lot of things. Like he's in technology, but he's not really aware of when somebody's causing him trouble, and that's what gets me worried about him a lot.
Okay, see, like what you're describing now is that Aaron's a high functioning autistic person. Am I right, Aaron?
yes, on the high function end, where
Okay.
on the end you're talking about, it's more of the opposite, which is the low, which is more of
Yes.
you have to use a communication device, and they have to rely on 24/7 most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So, and it's just like that would
and
mean,
essentially, what we're wanting to get out to you guys out in the YouTube community and anywhere else, that when it comes to disability, that all, no matter what condition it is, it's usually a spectrum of
yes,
various levels. So, for example, with cerebral palsy,
yes,
there's, I think, like 5 or 6 types. Can't remember.
Yes, there's spastic, there's mild, and moderate to severe.
yes. And I think what the three of us have, we're more spastic, right, than severe.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right? We
Yeah,
could
you're right.
we could live independently, but we might need some guidance, like CNA come in every couple a couple of times a week to help us with some big housework or making meals.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because for me, because I'm of course I'm affected on my one side, and of course that makes things whole another story to where
Oh Lord,
it's like it just I hate to be I hate to be kind of profane saying this on air, but it's kind of a bit of a hell. Um,
Yeah.
to put it this way for you guys in the YouTube community, I didn't mean to be profound. I didn't mean to be profound there when I said that, or kind of foul when I said that. It's just,
Hi Heather.
oh,
Hi, Heather.
this joined.
I think. Hi Heather.
Hi.
Hey Heather, how are you?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, it looks
You're
like
here.
my microphone's off. All right, I made it. Good Lord, that took forever.
Hi Heather.
Hi.
Don't,
Thanks for
don't
joining us.
worry, I didn't know what this was either.
I haven't used Google Hangouts before, so I had to install everything. And oh my word,
Oh.
why couldn't you use Zoom or something? I know how to do that.
Yeah. Anyhow,
I just found out what Google Hangout was yesterday.
Really?
Yeah.
Sorry, you guys. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt.
anyway, of course, if you're needing to catch up, of course, we're talking about bullying, of course, being a big issue in the disabled community, and you of course have a story relating to that, and I'm guessing you're wanting to share your story on that, Heather.
I'm trying to figure out which story. You guys, I don't know if you guys saw my typed comments or not, but I am the oldest one in this group. So I'm 49, and I was the first handicapped child mainstreamed into the school system in Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Wow.
There were, at that time, they believed that all kids with CP were retarded. That was the terminology of the day. And we were put into special schools and taken out of society. But my parents, first of all, refused to put me into an institution. That was the first hurdle. Because the doctors said I would never amount to anything. They refused. They found a doctor who sent me for an IQ test. At the age of 3, I had the IQ of a 5-year-old. So the doctor said clearly my disability was purely physical. Then they battled the school system to get me mainstreamed, which they were successful at, which was great for my education, but really, really, really crappy for my social life.
Yeah, I could relate to that because my parents fought a lot to get me into mainstream classes too. And basically they told my parents that I was basically below average in my IQ, and this was when I was in the 10th grade in high school. They tried to tell my parents I have short-term memory loss, long-term memory loss. They basically told my mom that I was dumber as a rock.
When I took the test that we always had to take tests every couple years, I scored below the average. I scored I think the average is 88, scored like a 78. And never just because of my hands. I knew everything. It just hit the motor functions that we had to do in the test.
Yeah.
I couldn't do because of my hands.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and so
I think
I'm
go ahead, Ariel. You.
yeah. Sorry, Heather. Yeah. In terms of your experience, what did you other than the school system, what else have you experienced in terms of bullying?
Outside of school?
Yes.
Yes.
I was bullied in the workplace for 15 years.
Wow.
Coworkers and managers. I had to prove myself every single day that I could do the job that I was hired for. Even though the coworkers that were bullying me were actually dumping all their work onto my desk and getting away from me.
What did you do? What did you
I
do?
tried to go to the manager. I tried to stand up for myself, but the people that were doing the bullying in the workplace had the management wrapped around their little fingers, and the manager was on board with them. And so every time I went to the manager just looked at me and said, "Now, are you sure you can still do this job? Are you sure you're still physically able?"
What made you decide to stay in that career? Because most people would have just broke down after a while.
Well, when you've got 15 years of seniority and you're paying into a pension plan, you don't bail very quickly. There was also not a lot of what do they call, lateral transfer, meaning there wasn't a lot of openings that I could apply for elsewhere. And eventually one did come up, and I jumped at that point and got the job and ended up in a much more pleasant workplace until my body gave out and I couldn't work anymore outside of the home. But that's 21 years of service in healthcare in my city.
Wow.
Wow, well, congratulations for proving society wrong and taking a stand.
If I could interject, I read many of Heather's stories on The Mighty, and she is an amazing person, and I just met her this summer, and I look up to her a lot because I was in the health field too. I got my degree in I got a certificate in human services, and then I got associates in human services and a certificate in recreation therapy. And for a few years, I worked in nursing homes, and it was so hard because those the clients that I would have, they were elderly, and when they were young, the people with disabilities were, locked up somewhere. So when working with them, it was very hard for me and very challenging because they didn't want me near them. They didn't understand what my disability was because they have never seen it. Be growing up, and then on the scale of the nurses and doctors I worked for, they were afraid of me rolling the patients in their wheelchairs, thinking that I might lose my balance and end up hurting both of us. Back then when I worked in the field, I was more steadier on my legs. I didn't have my walker or my wheelchair, so I thought, going into this field would be so cool. I'm a recreation therapist. I would hang out and play with the elderly, play with bingo or whatever they were doing at the time. But it was a challenge for me. And I had to leave it because it was just too hard physically to do. So.
Mm-hmm.
But.
Mm-hmm.
So, Heather, I'm not sure. Of course, we didn't ask this to you yet, but were there any kids that ever bullied you as a child?
Where do I start? Honestly, It started in the first grade. I had the fifth grade boys following me home in gangs and pushing me down and kicking me black and blue day after day after day.
Oh,
I had girls pretending to be my friends for a week and then ganging up on me after school and beating me to a pulp.
Oh
my gosh.
flip!
I had one guy hold a big stone over my head threatening to kill me.
Oh Jesus!
Come on, where do I start, guys? It was everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, when I had surgery and was in a cast and on crutches, they kicked the crutches out from underneath me on the stairwell.
Oh
What?
my God!
And nobody got in trouble for this?
Well, you go to the principal, but he got nowhere.
And let me guess, the teachers did not even get fired for not knowing about it.
I never was abused by a teacher, unlike some of the other stories I was hearing. Tyler, I'm sorry.
Because the sad thing is, it's one of those common cases anyway, especially for the autistic kids, because there was once a story out there by a father that had a
Are you,
key and
Aaron, are you talking about Stuart Chiefins?
it's Stuart Chaffetz, yeah.
Yeah, I actually emailed him a couple years ago when the story first came out, and when I first heard the story, my heart broke.
And like and you know, and the thing was, Heather, you know what was really disturbing? What you hear on the tapes that he actually got of the event.
At least they have those these days. There was nothing when I was.
No, wait. But wait a minute, though. He had to send his son with a tape recorder because he suspected the school of not speaking the truth. Now, in this day and age, you shouldn't have to do that.
No, you shouldn't.
Bullying shouldn't exist. Teacher bullying shouldn't exist. None of it should exist, but it's sad that we lived in a society where it does exist.
I think because there's so much social media nowadays, and they publicize it on the news, which is not, you see this stuff on the news, and if you're not in your right mind when you're saying it, you're gonna go out and do it. I mean, like Sandy Hook, where I live, Sandy Hook's only like 45 minutes away from here. And when Sandy Hook happened, like, what was it, 5 years ago?
Yeah, that was...
I just remember the whole state came together and we were like in pieces for months and still thinking about it. It was so scary.
Ooh, my... Yeah, I can't imagine sending my child to school and them not come home.
Mm-hmm.
And no. So, well,
But has anybody here experienced cyberbullying?
Oh boy. I know that a ton of kids have growing up, especially like when they're still in their teens. Luckily I haven't had too many of those cases either myself, but I know there are people out there that have had those cases. Heather, this maybe I'll ask you now, but have you had any of those cases of cyberbullying?
No, I mean, in my school life, the internet didn't exist, so there was no social media.
But even nowadays, do you have a case of... I understand that we're adults nowadays, but do you have any cases of cyberbullying? Like...
I mean, I've heard the tragic stories of kids getting cyberbullied to the point that they commit suicide, and I think that's absolutely reprehensible and should be dealt with. But I haven't had any personal first-hand experience, and I don't know anybody personally that's been a victim of cyberbullying.
I have. Well, it's kind of funny because I do a lot of videos on YouTube, and I'm mostly known for a video that my parents did about 7 years ago, and it's basically me getting my first MacBook Pro. It's called 14-year-old girl goes crazy over MacBook Pro, and it went viral. And like people just make fun of me because of my voice.
Your voice.
Like, because when I get excited, my voice goes really, really high.
Oh yeah, you know what? That's actually that's a part of CP. The teacher that I had in 4th grade told me that is a part of CP.
Really? That's intriguing.
Yeah, I have the same problem. It's a pitch control problem.
Yeah. Essentially, the thing is, for you guys that may not be aware of this, but the thing is, it's especially important. Say, if you're to get into television, radio, it's a entertainment medium.
Is Heather okay?
Sorry. Yeah, I should have figured out how to mute before I did that.
Oh, it's okay. I was like, is she okay?
I'm fine. I just have a chronic cough.
You wanna know what the crazy thing about it is? Not getting off topic here, but I just found out I have bad eye coordination due to my cerebral palsy. Like, I don't look directly at people, which is kind of funny because I just found that out from a doctor that I went to a couple months ago, and he told my mom, well, she has bad eye coordination because of her CP, and my mom's like, that's why you never look at me straight.
Oh.
But I have good hearing.
Guys, I have to run because I have to be somewhere at like 3:15. So,
Okay.
how do I sign out of here?
I'll kind of sign you up. I'll duck you out.
I think you just hang up.
Okay.
Yeah, just hang.
Sorry.
Bye. Thank you. This was a great discussion.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Soon. Love you.
There she goes.
There she goes.
Oh boy.
So,
Sorry.
so, any more questions that you have for us, Aaron, or?
Well. Excuse me. Anyhow. Anyhow. Kind of for what I was going to ask. Kind of for the both of you guys. Have you ever had any work experiences when it comes to the medical department?
The medical department?
When it comes to the medical department, I have a ton of stories when it comes to that. Actually, I went to the doctor, and she's examining me, and she looks at me and she goes, "Oh my gosh, this is the worst case of cerebral palsy I ever seen. This disease is just so bad and so horrible." And she's touching my legs, and I'm like, "Ma'am, with all due respect, cerebral palsy is a condition, not a disease."
Good.
Oh my flippin' God.
Like, it's and she's like, "But this is the worst case I ever seen." She's like, "How do you live?" I'm like, "I'm living every day. Like, my life's not all that bad, you know?"
Wow.
And I never went back to that doctor, by the way, but she was mad that I was, like, optimistic and positive.
Are you freaking kidding me?
But sometimes when you go to doctors, you have to be that way, because if not, there's been times where I would leave the doctor's office crying as a kid. And I would just be the most angriest person that I have this condition. But now it's like, okay, let me sit here and let me educate this doctor, because obviously he or she really didn't go to medical school. If you classify cerebral palsy as something deadly,
Yeah, because the thing is, for people that may not be aware, I'll put it this way: it's not it's in no way a deadly condition, but certain conditions associated with condition can be deadly.
Yeah, like if you have epilepsy.
So, if there's a case like that, or somewhere else where it's another one of those bad conditions that can be fatal, then yes, but it's still not. But it's still not. But it's still 1% related. You kind of have to keep that in mind, especially when you do your research. That cerebral palsy itself is not a deadly condition. Any conditions that are associated with birth and everything else can be. Because for me, I've had my cases where I've had, let me think. I think I've had a level 3 and a level 4 brain damage in my case. Which is kind of near around, one of them's near kind of mental retardedness, and I can't think of the other one. Can't think of the name of the other one. But, yeah. So, it's no joke. And it's not something just to go around considering just as a disease for no particular reason before you're doing research. And I bet you two would agree on that.
Oh, absolutely. Unfortunately, the medical community is very unknowledgeable about cerebral palsy. Doctors are not trained understanding the disorder. And they're not trained beyond caring for people outside of childhood. Somehow, when we turn 18, it's supposed to all miraculously disappear. And
it did.
And we're cut loose and told to go live our lives, but this is a lifelong disorder. So I'm like Tylea in that I can't count the number of doctors that I've tried to educate, and not many of them are very receptive to being educated. And I still fight that battle every time I go to see a medical person for the first time. I hate it.
Me too.
I have to start all over at square one again.
And again, and again.
And again. So.
And all they want to do is give you pills. Like I'm on ibuprofen and something else, morphine. It's a small little pill that I have to take every time I get like muscle spasms, and I'm thinking, do they really think that me taking pills is going to be the answer? Like when I was younger, my parents never gave me pills because they never wanted me to get addicted to them. But as I'm getting older, they're starting to give me the pills because they see the pain is just too much. And I only take them every once in a while, so. But I hate it.
I mean, I could believe it too, because unfortunately, for people who may not know me personally, I have to, because of my case, with the various experiences I've had, with the experiences I've had, after several years, I had to start relying on pills for my anxiety and depression, because for people that may not know this about cerebral palsy, it can be one condition associated for those that may not have much of any social interaction or any that kind of experience that's necessary that us humans need. And I bet Heather and Taylor, you both can agree on that.
I could agree on that only because I wouldn't say I suffer from depression, but I've been getting it on and off ever since I was 15 years old. And I think it started after like my best friend died. And that's where I found my outlet for writing, and that's how I got into creative writing. I published my first book at 16, working on my second book. But yeah, depression with CP is very hard. Because there's days where you know that you should be going outside and doing more, and you know that you're capable of doing more, and if you didn't need nurses or you didn't need 24-hour help, how different would your life be? And I always say that I would be overseas in the military somewhere.
Absolutely, absolutely. Heather, what do you got?
I mean, certainly throughout my life, I've had different times when I've battled with depression for different reasons. When I was 14, I was actually suicidal from it. But I think what I've learned, and because I'm older than you guys, I can pass this little tidbit of wisdom down.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned not to live in the what ifs. So I don't let myself think back to what I could do when I was your age that I can't do now. I don't let myself go there mentally because it's just a downward spiral otherwise. I have to stay focused in the present and look towards the future. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I write about what I'm feeling now. Like, I told myself that I will never go back to that time where I was thinking that suicide was the answer, because it's not.
Yeah, I mean, especially because the thing is, people may not know this, but depression also can affect celebrities too.
It affects everybody.
Because I think about because there's one case I particularly think about when it comes to depression, which is the case with Robin Williams.
Yeah,
and the guy from Linkin Park. And Chester from Linkin Park.
Yeah, and that too. Because, what we're trying to get at here is that depression's no freaking joke. Depression's no freaking joke. If you're to be someone that's depressed because of, like, say, a condition or something or whatever, speak up about it instead of holding it in and then let it get to the point where you're wanting to commit suicide. That's a definite no. Because you'll end up being in one of those cases, like a celebrity or someone passed away, and then that really upsets the family.
Well, think about it, Aaron. Then what does it solve? You're not going to be an inspiration to anybody. You're not going to be able to leave the message of, hey, I may have gone through this struggle and that struggle, but I was able to get out of it. I was able to defeat the obstacle. Committing suicide just says, okay, I'm just going to let the obstacle win the battle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you agree, Miss Heather, or did I miss?
No, that's a very valid point. When you get into the mindset of being suicidal, though, you're not thinking along straight lines like that, though.
No, you're not.
The forest for the trees at the moment.
And that's the scary part, because you're such in a dark cloud and you don't even know who you are anymore.
Well,
I remember going through it at 15, and I would be in my room crying, making videos, and I'm happy that I never uploaded those videos to anywhere.
Wow. Yeah,
I didn't make videos. I just wrote my diary. That was safer.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the thing is, a lot of times, even when I did put videos out, a lot of times, even though they may seem all happy and everything, the thing is, behind the scenes, I've not always been as happy as people see for what I'm saying on camera. Because with my anxiety and depression, it's a constant spiral where it just goes up and down, and up and down. So, and that's what I think people need to keep in mind, that just because someone looks happy, say, like, on the outside, they may not be happy in the inside because of a situation in their life.
And you want to know what was harder for me? My stepdad, that I consider my dad because my biological father was never around, Actually, he didn't come back into my life until I was 17, and he found out that I was an author. Long story. He's a motivational speaker. He's been featured in Chicken Soup for the Soul, and he has several YouTube videos talking about motivational speaking and how he's a network marketer. And it was kind of hard for me to speak out about my depression because I felt like if I told him about it, he would be disappointed in me because career choice. And I look up to him a lot, so that was hard for me to keep in.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Heather, what do you have to say on that?
Not a lot, really. I mean, for me, what pulled me out of it was finding faith in God, but that's my own path. So I think the best advice that I could give to people that are struggling with depression is to talk to somebody, anybody, and anybody that at least is halfway trustworthy, and make your feelings known. Don't just keep them to yourself, because it doesn't help you to move forward or get out of the kind of cycle of negative self-talk that you're in.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because again, as I said earlier, for people that may not know, people may not have any experience with depression, just because, as I said, just because somebody looks happy on the outside, they may not look happy on the inside because there's something going on in their life. And
exactly.
Yeah. And
you want to know what? You want to know what I do now when I feel that way? I just start writing about a character that went through it, and then I'll save it for like an idea I have or something. But happy to say I haven't been severely depressed in quite some time now, since I was 15. So
yeah,
that bad. So I'm blessed.
Yeah. Heather, would you say if you have had any creative ways of dealing with your own depression?
Well, like I said, when I was a teenager, I didn't really have a voice in my house. So I turned to writing in a diary. And then in my adult years, I continued that. And in the last few years, I have turned my writing into some articles and stuff that have gotten published on the Mighty. And I'm pursuing more of that. I am working from home. I'm an entrepreneur. I have a coaching business. I'm launching out into public and into writing. Have to learn how to blog. And we'll end up writing a book at some point. I just haven't quite got the concept of that down yet. So all of these avenues are ways for me to articulate what I've gone through to help the younger people like yourselves coming along behind, to not make the same mistakes that I did, that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'll tell you guys right now. Originally, I was trying to work on a book originally, but of course, I kind of lost all the pieces, and I was like, you know what? Originally, as I said, I was going to write a book, but of course, then go according to plan, and so I mostly before we all joined up, I originally just started a podcast which I ran for several years, while I was still able to host it, which in the long run has helped me get me started in terms of the media and radio business. And in the long run, if you're somebody out there that's looking for an outlet to express yourself or something like that, you know, either something like music, video making, or radio or television or something like that, if you can find something like that, you know, then they'll turn things around for you. That'll completely turn things around. I bet both you, Heather and Taylor, can agree with that.
I can agree with that. And Heather, if you need help marketing things, I can connect you with my dad. His name is Carlos Aponte Jr. He does a lot of marketing on Facebook, YouTube, Steemit. He's also on Twitter, so check him out. And writing a book is fun, but it's very time-consuming.
Oh, I know I've done it before, but it was a fiction book. This would be different that I would be doing now. So.
Yeah, and the thing is, at the same time too, Heather, have you thought about if you were just gonna do a printed copies, or if you were planning to do an audiobook version, which you'd go in, in a case to be in one of those cases where like you'd contact a voiceover studio and you'd be like, yeah, you have this book that you wrote and you wanted to do voiceover for it. Then of course you go into the studio, then record your lines for it, whatever, and they'll splice it all up together.
So if I'm understanding your question, Aaron, you're asking about an audiobook possibility?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd be open to that, of course.
Because I've seen offers out there where they have taken their book to the next level by doing an audiobook. They're able to bring themselves or multiple people on to do roles for the book, their book. And for example, one of the good ones that has done that, for example, one of the good ones that has done that already is I'm not sure if you two, Taylor and Heather, are aware of the book Kayla's Voice or not. But there's an audiobook version,
Yeah.
And of course, throughout the book, there is commentary throughout from the father, and then also from the daughter that was involved for the making of the story. And they did various like skit type things in between to represent represent the case of autism they were trying to portray.
A good movie for you guys to watch with a protagonist with cerebral palsy. It's called Margarita with the Straw on Netflix.
Yeah, for any of you that do have Netflix, because it is a subscription service, which I can't think of the prices right now. I know that if you're to go up to like the Ultra, each and everything else, that's gonna be the most expensive you'd ever have to pay. Compared to say just going for a standard one, or one that has HD on it.
Like,
for some content.
You guys want to know what the cool thing is that now I'm starting to see a lot of more authors write about people with cerebral palsy, and I'm like, yes, and a lot more TV shows about it. And
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, yes, it's about Tom.
Yeah. Heather. How do you feel in terms of the more exposure finally in the media?
To be honest, I don't watch a lot of TV. I do have a subscription to Netflix, and that's pretty much all that I watch.
You watch Margarita with a Straw.
I haven't watched it yet, but I'll go look for it. Take a look at
Perfect. It's such a good movie.
I am encouraged by what I'm hearing about certain TV shows that are having actors with CP on the shows.
Speechless is another good one.
Yeah.
I've heard of it. I have heard of another one, but
Breaking Bad.
a lot of people from I've been hearing from a lot of people it's been relatively mixed, which is I'm trying to think. It's a Netflix series called Atypical, I think it was, which is mostly people like on the autism spectrum and everything else. And from what I was seeing, I don't know if it's really good as certain people have said, because at certain times I've seen a lot of the times mixed views from other people, especially when it comes to some of the stories that have been portrayed with some of the characters and whatnot. And so, Taylor, have you watched it yourself, and what's your opinion on it?
Well, here's the one thing I hate about some movies or some TV shows that have characters with cerebral palsy. They always write the character to make it seem like cerebral palsy is a sickness. Like, that's why, like, in my new book that I'm working on now, the boy protagonist has cerebral palsy and epilepsy, and I'm kind of debating whether where his path should go, because it's a love story, and the father forbids the daughter from seeing the boy because he has cerebral palsy and epilepsy, and he's a certain race. So I kind of incorporated discrimination into it, but yeah, those one of those things where I don't like, per se.
Yeah, absolutely. Heather, have you would you say, were there any areas in terms of the media, in terms of how they portray cerebral palsy under conditions, where you say you've had problems with how they say portray a certain character or whatever, that kind of thing, when it comes to a disability?
Like I said, I haven't watched a lot of shows where there's characters with CP as part of the show, but I have over the years watched movies where they've had disabled actors who are quads or something else. I can't remember the name of the movie that came out a little while ago that I refused to watch, but it's the one where he's a quad and he basically opts for assisted suicide, and his love of his life helps him do it. It's stuff like that.
Was it You Before Me? Like, was that what it was called?
Something like that. You Before Me or something like that.
Because that's based on a book, actually, and the book gets into more detail on it. I didn't like the movie neither, to be honest.
Gives a false perception, I believe, and gives the only way out as being suicide, which is ridiculous.
And that's where I think the problem comes in.
But the thing is though, when it comes to TV and film, the thing is that's not usually the only time they a lot of time they take out elements from a book and then just kind of completely just put in stuff that's not even relevant, and then say it's 1% based off the particular book, where only certain half the time it's true. Other half the time it's kind of
I don't like the idea of a person with special needs committing suicide altogether in a movie. I think what Miss Heather said, it's like a misconception of saying, wow, they're so miserable that they kill themselves, and that is not true.
Well, there seems to be an agenda in Hollywood to kind of go along those lines, because of course there's the issue within our society now of euthanasia.
I think
for the disabled community is a huge threat. So
I think there's a lot of issues with our society. Look who the U.S. voted for president, a president that mocks people with disabilities. And
because if I remember, there was almost a case like that with a disabled reporter. To where a lot of times the media was getting it wrong, and basically somebody found out that it was not 1% true, but still, there. But the thing is, what I'm trying to elaborate here is that the media can easily manipulate a story, and then take out of context.
They do it
but it's still, Aaron, it's still wrong for a president to do that, a leader of a country to do that.
yeah, that too. I'm just saying. It's just that's why I'm elaborating that. That's part of the problem for media that they can so easily manipulate what they have and then say make a whole lie on it and then get it to the point where it's the whole case is out of context and then you find out a whole another side of it and you're like, what?
Yeah, it's called spin, Aaron. They spin it the way they want to.
That's why I chose not to go into journalism. I took journalism in high school and I learned the insides and outs, and let me tell you, I can see how a celebrity's life can be ruined by these tabloids, and how having a disability could be misinterpreted by these tabloids. Like, for my Sweet 16, I got to hang out with the Florida Marlins, and in the interview, the announcer says that I have a rare form of body palsy, like a disease, and I'm like, Mom, I don't like this. I still don't like it when I watch it to this day. I get really upset. Even though I got to meet my favorite baseball player, John Buck, sweet guy. Me and him have the same birthday. Down-to-earth person, but I just didn't like how the media portrayed my disability to be so deadly and so devastating. To the point where kids in school watched it and they didn't know much about my disability because I wasn't open to spreading awareness at the time, and they thought I had a disease. And I had to explain it like, I don't. It was just the media over-exaggerating.
Yeah, absolutely, because what's on the case out there, it's ridiculous. So then it's kind of like for me, I've had to make hard choice myself. Where I've only gone on to one side of the media because when it comes to TV, that's usually the most media that's ever manipulated.
When it comes to media altogether, they seem to exaggerate cerebral palsy to be a disease.
So which is kind of why I resort to radio, because then you're more working with.
Back to the topic of bullying before I have to log off because my dad's bringing sushi home for dinner. Well, I just feel like the more and more we spread awareness about our stories with cerebral palsy and disability awareness, we can make the world green and make the world a better place. So everybody can see that the 17 million people matter. And hopefully in March we can get some media outlets to promote cerebral palsy awareness, because here in the U.S. there's none.
Yeah, absolutely, because there's, especially for you mean, because there's no particular network that specifically promotes, for people with disabilities. In most cases, unless you're running into those rare cases, like where there's rare amount of documentaries that may do it, but again, still can be manipulated. If not done carefully.
Well, thank you for having me, Aaron. Thank you, Heather. I'll be sure to send you a friend request on my Facebook so we can connect.
Absolutely.
And see you next time.
All right. Bye, Talia.
Bye.
Anyway, Heather, I'd also like to thank you for joining me for this show. It was a great pleasure.
Nice pleasure meeting you, Aaron.
Yep, thank you. And anyway, for anybody watching, this is the end of episode 1 of the Disability Mentors with the talk about bullying, and we'll see you guys next time.
Bye now.
Bye.